All right, our next assignment for the week is we're going to stay in section 12.2, working with angles and angle measure, and we're going to kind of expand on what we're doing to kind of get a firmer grasp on that. So I went into the document and I've kind of made some brief notes here for you to read over. And it also has a couple examples. All right, and this is coming straight from your assignment, so you'll be able to reference these notes up here that are part of your expansion worksheet. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and work out some examples here on your actual assignment so you can kind of see what's going on here. So I'm going to start with the first page. In the first page, we have 7 questions. So I'm going to go ahead and address, let's do numbers. We're going to do numbers, get my pen, there we go, numbers 1 and 4. All right, so the first exercise, we have to draw an angle with the given measure, and it's kind of tough doing this digitally. We don't have a compass or a protractor, I should say, unless you're using some type of good app online like Desmos or something. So let's go ahead and label what we know here. We know that this is 90 degrees. We know this is 180. We know this is 270. And then one full rotation takes us to 360 degrees. All right, so we need to draw an angle with 160 degrees. So I don't have to add or subtract 360 like the example above. I can just go ahead and plot that. So I'm going to do that here in green. And I need my side that lays on the x-axis. All right, that's my starting point. And 160 we know is going to be kind of in between 90 and 180. So with this digital app, you can kind of ballpark it. It doesn't have to be precise. I just want to see if you can plot it in the zone where it goes. And we know that right about here is 160 degrees, okay? And that is a counterclockwise rotation, okay? And that is how you will practice numbers 2 and 3. Okay, so going to number 4, find an angle with a positive measure and an angle with a negative measure that are coterminal. Okay, so remember we were talking about like brothers and sisters or twins, so we got to find their twin. So 65's twin is found by either adding 360, and that gives me 425. All right, 425 degrees. And also what we need to do is subtract 360. So we're going to subtract 360. And that's going to give me negative 295. All right, and that is what you will need to do for 5, 6, and 7. So these are all related. We could even say they're triplets. 65 is coterminal to 425, which is also coterminal to negative 295. It just depends on if you go clockwise or counterclockwise. I'm sorry, counterclockwise or clockwise. That just depends on which way you move. But these are all the same. They're triplets. We can say they're triplets. 65, 425, and negative 295. All right, moving to the second part of your expansion. We're going to scroll down here. We're going to be converting from radians to degrees and degrees to radians. So I've kind of cleaned up this chart here and just tried to make bullet points here for you. And this 180 over pi and this pi over 180 comes from these equations up here. Okay, so to change from a radian to a degree, we have 180 over pi. To change from degree to radian, we just reciprocate and we get pi over 180. And there's a reason why we do that, and we'll go over that, okay? And then to find the arc length, we're using a formula which is the radius times the central angle. So whenever you see this sign right here, it looks like a 0 with a dash in it. It's going to tell you the angle that they're looking at or the central angle, all right? There's a couple of examples here already provided on the expansion, but what I'm going to do is go ahead and go in here and work some of these out for you. All right, so I'm going to work out number 1, number 5, and number 7. Okay, all right, so we're starting with a degree, so we're going to have to change to a radian. All right, so what we're going to do is take this 140 and we're going to multiply it times pi over 180. All right, and that's going to give us, we just multiply numerator times numerator, because if you want to look at it, there's a 1 underneath there. Okay, there's that invisible 1. So we just multiply straight across. Okay, and I end up with 140 pi over 180. All right, and then when you simplify that 140 and 180, you are left with 7 over 9 pi. And it is now in radians. Okay, you don't have to do anything else. It's in radians. Now, when we're going from radians to degrees, here's the reason why they reciprocate it. So we're going to be taking, let me change colors here, and we're going to be multiplying 7 pi over 6 times 180 over pi. All right, and here's the reason why they've converted that equation to actually have it as 180 over pi, and this is the magic that happens here. We can cancel out pi because we're cross-canceling, okay? You could even simplify further if you wanted to and see if 6 goes into 180, and you can simplify that. All right, I'm just going to multiply straight across, and I'm going to get 1260 over 6. And I know that that divides evenly, and I am left with 210. And we'll place a degree sign over it, and you are done. All right. Finding the arc length. We're going to use that equation that was provided to us, and that equation was S equals R times that central angle. Okay, so let's clear this up a little bit. We know that 4 is going to be our R. All right, so what we're going to do is just plug in that equation. And we get, let me change colors. That green can be a little bright. Let's go to a little raspberry here. We've got S equals, and let's just fill in what we got, 4 times the central angle, and that central angle is measured in radians, so we have 2 pi over 3. So 4 times 2 pi over 3. Okay, and we're just going to multiply straight across, so I get 4 times 2, which is 8 pi over 3. Okay, and that's what S equals. Now here's the magic part. This, you're going to just use a calculator. This is calculator work right here. Makes it life a little easier on you. So the calculator step, you're going to put everything in that fraction in that calculator. So in your calculator, you're going to type in 8 times pi. And you can just use 3.14. Or if you want to use the pi button, you can use the pi button. I like using 3.14. So I'm typing in 8 times 3.14 divided by 3. And when I do that in my calculator, I get S equals 8.37. And we're rounding to the nearest tenth. So my final answer is going to be 8.4. All right. So your homework I'll post on Classroom, and you're going to be doing the questions that I left blank for you. All right. Good luck, everybody.